up a seat to the bar and join us for another episode of McAnally's Pubcast, a podcast exploring the fun and fantastical mind of Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files series. Hosts Tansen, Jess, and Maggie bring you another round of literary analysis on this immense, immersive, and colorful environment inhabited by Harry Dresden, the world's only licensed private investigator and professional wizard. Join an active and engaged community of new and die-hard dedicated fans focused on the fabulous themes, theories, characters, context, lore, and more. This is McAnally's Dresden Files Pubcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk. Welcome to the McAnally's Podcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. This is episode 13.15, Avaunt, where we are covering the novel Deadbeat. My name is Tansen, and I'm joined by Maggie.
Hello.
And Jess.
Sneaky.
Trixie. Chapter 18. Dresden is relieved of his copy of Die Lied der Erlking, and before he is killed by Lee, he is rescued by Gard, Hendrix and Marcone. Marcone provides Harry more information about the incident on Wacker and convinces him that it is in his best interest to go to the local emergency room. So we start the chapter with Lee disarming Harry of his copy of the Erlking, and Harry decides to fall on his injured leg as he knows that the corpse taker will feel his pain while she has control of his mind.
Yeah.
So it's effective, but damn, that's rough.
So I was wondering about this. So, okay, it is ingenious kind of a thing, right? Like, yeah, okay, fine, hurt yourself to hurt her, brilliant. But it makes me wonder about this whole mind magic. To me, this is a little bit one of those, like, going in circle kind of things. So we know initially he had his defenses up and she was having trouble. So now that she's knocked his defenses down and got in, and all of a sudden he's like, don't know where he is, doesn't know what's going on, right? She's basically controlling things. He's got this vague awareness of her talking about him. But, right, so if she's got complete control of him, how are some of his own... Now, again, is it just the inevitability of the way your mind works, that your thoughts are your thoughts are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's less of a...
Even if somebody...
I'm trapped in here with you, you're trapped in here with me.
Yeah, but she was also able to stop him from doing anything else by...
Maybe she's looking for something else and not noticing all of what...
Maybe, right?
It's just hard to control two different bodies.
Well, it is. So this is a little bit my question. So with Harry starting to get these thoughts to himself and being able to make this sort of conscious, like he says, yeah, I don't have enough power to like jump up and run away, but I can like fall over on my leg kind of a thing, right? So is that some of his inherent power? Like, is that any indication of how strong Harry is? That he can still block that and can push against and start reinstating his own will? Or is, again, like you say, just the fuckery of my magic that, yeah, she's in there pulling, but again, she's never going to be 100% in control because it's not her, and she's just trying to, hold his arms and make him flail around.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of the whole, having that whole marionette thing, the strings will get tangled at some point. There's nothing you can do about it, no matter how good you are.
Yeah.
And trying to control yourself as well, go on stage and perform, while you're also controlling this doll.
Yeah, and that could have been really just a split section.
Yeah, it was more just opinion, right? Like, do you think this speaks anything to Harry's own power that he's all, or whether it's really just, no, there's just a whole lot going on, and she just...
Yeah, I'm going to opt to say...
Can't keep all the balls in the
but
air.
I'm more like, that's a lot to have to control.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that Harry is that super strong. This just doesn't seem like his area of expertise. He's just
no, as we already said with his whole, they teach us how to do, like...
I think he was lucky that it worked.
Yeah, the one thing I will say, though, is that where Harry has the advantage over a lot of his fellow wizardmen is the physical pain aspect. Most of them do not have to go through that, do not have to endure. I'm sure it feels just as painful for Harry, but he's used to it.
But he's
used to having to run for his life in these horrible pain situations.
You're right, and more willing to, that's the biggest thing for a lot of us is we're not willing to inflict that pain on yourself to do, right?
Plus,
but then,
if you are a say 600-year-old wizard, you might have noticed your healing has actually been better than the average human. Maybe you haven't looked into it too much, but you might have realized over 600 years that your healing's not too hot. But I imagine most of them don't have a Butters or a physician of any kind who has explicitly stated this out. So maybe Harry's even more reckless now. And he's like, fuck it, this shit'll heal apparently. So
he just found that out like 5 minutes ago, though.
He's rash. He's real rash, okay?
It's not like he's been treating himself with kid gloves beforehand. It's now just like, well, fuck it, I can.
But I think even more so now, I'd really be like, well, fuck it, this isn't even permanent, so who cares now?
Yeah, but I think you're right. I think that goes a long way with, like, initially I had, like, tradesmen and stuff in mind, but, like, same thing with, like, cops and think, right, you're trained to overcome that fear or put yourself in. It's probably part, right? Most of us are like, don't do anything to hurt yourself. Like, okay, yeah, I know if I hit my thumb with a hammer, I'm going to live. But I also know I don't want to, right? It's still, whereas like I say, if you're like trades or something, you're right, you start getting, be like, oh, whatever, it's a cut, it's a scratch,
Right.
it's a, right.
Well, and he's even doing, like, I know from taking martial arts, you are trained to take a punch. I'm sure Murphy has been working on it with him.
That too.
We've spoken about it, trying to absorb it or fall a certain way to minimize the pain or the injury or the long-term...
Yeah, and Harry said himself, once he started getting beat up all the time, right, like we know in like Deadbeat, right, with the puppy in his pocket, right, he specifically is starting to do, death masks.
Yeah.
Haha, we don't do that ever at all. That's the first time any of us have made that mistake. But yeah, we see there that he's specifically like, okay, I'm going to get some real training in with Murphy because, yeah, now that I, suddenly find myself exactly, you can do a certain amount of just getting the shit beat out of you.
The mental fortitude of, this is my everyday life, and I'm used to this.
And adrenaline certainly has something to do with it, because once you get that adrenaline high, which she probably doesn't have because she's the one that is the attacker.
Right.
She's distracted.
And she's cocky as shit, so she's not like, catch him, right? She's just like, fuck, right? So, yeah.
She's making the other two do all the work. So.
She's completely making
And it is a surprise move. It's just like, really? Like,
yes.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Did not see that coming.
No, it is one of those clever, devious little things, right?
Well, you see that all the time in content where, like, a lot of fantasy, things that, like, supernatural, that fucking go on forever and try everything. Where, yeah, eventually someone can read your mind, and you're like, well, how do I attack if they can read my mind? I've got to, like, do something so surprising to even myself.
I know.
Like, who can't think when they're in horrible pain? Me.
Oh, you know what? Horrible pain. Yeah, let's just do that.
Don't have thoughts? Okay.
Well, and again, the genius of it is that even if she sees it coming, right? Even if she can hear him thinking that, well, unless she's gonna jump out, right? Like, yeah, you're in it, it's happening already. You're just going down with the ship here. Like, oh shit, you just know it's coming.
Well, it is enough for Dresden to be able to, like, kick out Lee's knee, whom he learned from Murphy in these lessons.
Easy.
And crawls out of the alley onto the sidewalk, just as Lee follows after. The ghoul is struck in the eye with a double-bladed, axe-yielding, blonde, statuesque warrior woman in a suit. What? I can't imagine who that would be.
What?
Da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da.
Marco!
Insane timing, dude.
Your timing is improbable. This was fantastic. I know. I was like, what? This was
Absolutely amazing. Of all the people to come out of the woodworks to come and save Harry.
Right. And even if because you kind of, this is what I like about Butcher sometimes, is he throws the little things in, and you do, like, at the time, you're like, ooh, but you quickly, like, he does such a good job of just continuing on that you very naturally and easily forget some of this stuff. Like, again, all this other stuff I've been reading, and I'm like, again, just people that aren't up to par the same way, and how they're casually mentioning, and you're like, wow, this is so going to be a big deal later. Or
I find myself doing the same thing where I'm like, oh, we're talking about the grocery store hours, that's going to be relevant later on, because who the fuck else is talking about grocery store hours in a 20-minute episode when you very carefully have to be in control of your script, Doctor Who?
Yeah.
Now I know the grocery store hours are really going to fucking matter, because things like that, right?
Exactly.
Whereas, yes, Butcher does a very good job of being like, we talk about the grocery store hours every single book, guys. It's not weird for me to bring it up now. And also, did I mention Mortimer Lindquist hours? Okay, well, let's go look over there, right?
Yeah, right. Like, exactly. So we know that, yeah, before he went out to go retrieve the car, he made this call and stuff. He's like, oh, I made a few calls, and then, right? And again, you're like, oh, because he's like, nobody answered, right? He picked up the phone and was like, I need to talk to you in an hour. And, right, and doesn't tell you who did he call. That was a weird phone call. Like, what was that, right? And all of a sudden you're like, oh, right. So you might, again, when you get that, you're like, oh, I bet. And then you just naturally go along with the rest, right? You just get caught up in it.
Thrown through windows
and right, and you just like totally forget until you get like this fabulous moment where you're like, Marco, like, it's only been a book since we've seen him, but it feels like a long time.
It feels so long since we've seen him.
Right? Like, so much, like, Marco, I mean,
he's lived 1,000 lifetimes without you, bro.
Because right now, he's in the book, well, I guess he was in Full Moon too, but then, like, he wasn't really in Great Peril, and then, like, he was early in Summer Night, and then he's, like, here again, and then, right? So I think that's part of it, is that it's not that long since we saw him last, but over the last couple of books, he's, like, in and out and has not been. So, yeah, I remember it just felt like this super long time since we'd seen, like, it's been forever and ever and ever. I'm like, I guess it hasn't, but
I felt like it had been a really long time.
Yeah, same. You were just like, oh, Marcone is back.
I missed you so much.
And he's got this fabulous new backup. So we saw her briefly in-depth, right? They met at the gala when they went to, but yeah, it was a very brief introduction, right? I've got this new...
The helicopter moment.
Yes, but yeah, we didn't get a super shit ton about her. Obviously, she was some, bodyguard type, whatever, right? And now we're getting that she's a fucking double-headed axe-wielding, throwing this axe.
She's pretty badass.
Into it's got runes going off. She's got magic in her big scary.
She recognizes
physical
exactly
weapon.
that it's a ghoul.
Knows what she's dealing with. Knows put it down hard. No pussyfooting around with this. And yeah, it's just
Avaunt's carrying.
Avaunt, yeah, right. Like she's just like no, yeah.
Miss Gard is good to go.
Miss Gard is
She's fantastic. And I do like that she's also how insistent. I don't work for Marcone. I work for Monarch Securities, and he hires me through them. And I love that Marcone is willing to do that too. Like, yeah, no, this is the best help. Sure, work for whoever the fuck you want. I don't care. Because normally he sees very much into be, I'm in control. All my people are my people. I'm the top dog. But for him to go to Gard and be like, no. What you guys do is so cool. Keep doing it. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think that's, to a large degree, I absolutely agree. But I mean, again, this is, I think, where, again, we see the business side of Marcone. Marcone knows he can't actually own the entire, right? Marcone hires a law firm. You know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah, so fine, it's maybe he's got his own, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's not got, like, everything is his own in-house legal, right? He's like, no, you guys do law shit, you do really good law shit, yeah, I'm gonna hire an accounting firm to look out, I'm gonna hire...
He's got a lot of consultants.
He does have a lot of consultants, right? So while he definitely brings in his, like, as with Harry, right? He's like, no, I don't really want, I mean, he will, he's like, I don't want to just hire you out as a private eye, I want you to be my private eye. And Harry won't, so he's kind of worried. So same thing, right?
That's fair.
He's like, I can respect this. He's like, you already work for somebody.
In the past, the deal he gave Harry was like, I'll pay you like a full-time employee, but you do whatever the fuck you want. Just don't work.
Yeah, just don't do it, right?
Just be at my beck and call.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'm sure he would. I'm sure he would hire Gard away in a moment to work exclusively for him. But yeah, she's not. And he knows. He's like, it's not worth the fight because, and again, it also makes a certain amount of sense that until he gets better informed than he is now, right? He's like still learning a lot. I'm like, who knows what resources she has, right? Like, who's got better resources? The individual PI or the fucking like FBI who has like way more money and way more computers and way more information. You know what I mean, right?
Pluses, yeah.
Yeah. So right. So he's like, Monarch's got all this shit that he's like, eventually I might be able to get that stuff, but first I got to learn what it all is, and then I have to amass it all, and then right. So yeah. Yeah, he's like, I'm not dumb, he's like, you just stay with your company that knows all this. But yeah, other than that, I think she's basically like hired specifically to him. So he's like, fuck it. Gard is happy to show up and do this. She's like, let me squash this thing. She's like, I gotta beat the shit out of something. And she,
adrenaline junkie.
And I just love how Lee is just like, bye-bye.
Never mind this.
Oh shit, gotta go.
He's like, does not even try. He's like, she just comes in strong and like, let's go. And he's like, nope. And just runs the fuck away. And Corpse Saver's like, excuse me.
I think I like the Looney Tune with the tiny little kitten and the giant big bulldog. The little kitten's like, no, let's fight. And the bulldog just picks him up and carries him like, no, I had him this time. I was so close.
Yeah.
I go, okay, Harry, let's go.
Right, exactly.
So this moment in the car is very cute between Marcone and Harry. They always fall back into their little back and forth, which is just fun and cute and why we love Marcone so much.
And it gets better because the first few times Marcone is just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And now you see Marcone
grows into it.
Right, he's like playing along too. He's like
teasing him from avoiding eye contact.
Right, he's like, Marcone's doing the banter too.
You weren't you and I wasn't me in another life. But Gard ruins everything by saying his fate was to die in that alley.
Wait, what?
Just like, you are ruining the vibe. We were having a lot of fun here.
What?
You cannot read that statement and be like,
what?
Yeah, which is a crazy statement to say in the Dresden Files. He almost dies every book.
Right?
That was the second it was supposed to go down?
Right? That was actually supposed, and because you're like, well, there's so many things going on now. Even if you didn't know where the series was headed, if you're reading this brand new as book 7, we're not done yet. There's got to be at least like a couple more to finish this. You know what I mean?
We're halfway through the book.
Yeah, well, I mean, in this book, but like I say, there's enough plot lines open in this book, right? That you're like, you're not going to solve everything in this one. We're going to solve this mystery, this book kind of a thing, right? But you're like, just based on how the series has gone so far, right? You'd be like, even if, this was at the time and you had no idea there was going to be 20 more books, you'd be like, what? Where can I, what? No, it's very just, and I love Marcone's line. Like, what good is free will if you can't spit in the eye of destiny? Right? She's like, humans, there's going to be consequences. When aren't there? Which, I guess that's Marcone being ballsy right there, right? That's just him straight. When aren't there consequences? Bring them on, I will,
Everyone makes that mistake but me.
It's starting to feel like there's like this added up, like all the things that Harry is starting to be fated to be.
Right?
And one of them is dead in this alley.
Like there's bigger things happening than just...
Okay, partially...
Whose prediction trumps whose?
Partially this whole human will argument is that we get infinite amount of fates, and every decision we make every single day suddenly rewrites them again and again and again and again and again, and there's no way to know from yesterday to today to tomorrow what your fate will be, because you change it every time you decide which fucking pair of socks you're gonna, or whatever the hell.
Right?
Exactly,
yep.
But for this to have culminated to just a second ago, that was your fate. And
she's very,
she's very, very,
very certain. She's like, no, that was it. Why did we say we were not supposed to be here and save him? And
which is why I like that Marcone says, like, oh, when aren't there? And who cares? We'll write another fate. Clearly it's not happening today. There'll be another one tomorrow. Who cares? I agree with that. I'm more concerned about the fact that Gard doesn't. The fact that she thinks it was so fucking important to make a point.
Because we don't know enough about her yet and her background and whatever, right? To be able to, like, why is she so certain exactly, right? Like,
when you call other people humans, I have questions. You look like me.
Yeah, right? Like, exactly. Because, like you say, with the fairies and all that, right? We know that they do have...
just as human as you, Harry. Yeah.
I'm just a plain old vanilla mortal.
But honestly, the more and more we go on and the more characters that relates to, the more and more I'm like, Harry's just not a plain vanilla mortal. That's all.
He wasn't lying.
We're not at all inferring that Kincaid was not a human. We were just inferring that Harry was not.
we were reading the wrong side of that. So we have all these fairies and stuff like that again are much more predetermined and are much more things they can and cannot change, and that, right? That, again, it's just the mere fact that, like, if it had just been Gard, things right, but Marcone is like, no, I'm perfectly, I got free will, I'm human, I can, whatever, you're working for me right now, guess what, we're gonna fuck this shit up, I don't care what you think is going on, or should have, or would have, or what's in control, right?
The sheer will of Marcone just to be like, no, I'm gonna mold this world the way I see fit, because I'm a god!
That is,
And just how effective and good at it that he is.
Yeah. Well, he's one of the true, because you see that a lot, right? The overconfident villain and the, god complex and all that, right? But that's the beauty of Marcone.
He's not too big for his britches.
He is not too big, right?
He can back himself up.
Uh-huh. Well, he can back himself up, and he knows. I don't know everything, right? So he does his best to consider all the possibilities and that, right? I don't know how to use Norse runes. I'm gonna hire this chick that does, and she's gonna, right? Like, exactly. He doesn't let himself get into that.
He doesn't fall into that stupid villain trope, which is appreciated. It makes him all the better for it.
It does make him all the better that, there's times where, he knows how to pick his battle, he knows how to pick his things, and he's not just like, I'm invincible, all right? He's like, no, I'm gonna build as much shit around me as I can, too, right? Like, he doesn't just get carried away.
So all that to say, the reason for the meeting is that Marcone wants to know what happened to Tony Mendoza, who is the butcher slab boy that we found.
The butcher slab boy. We can say that about everybody. Everybody's the butcher slab boy.
They are.
The sword swallower.
Yes, Bony Tony from the morgue that we needed Butters for at the very beginning of all this, simply because Butters was the one that landed on his plate. It could have been anybody. Man, can you imagine how this would have turned out?
Could it have been anybody, or do you think Marcone was like, what's the medical examiner that I want to assign to this? A supernatural one, please.
Okay, well...
We don't know what Marcone knows.
We don't know what Marcone...
But if you had to
say Butters, Butters is a very, very... he's been touched. He knows...
Most limited, and yet,
Harry,
if I had to choose one, and I was well aware that there was one, I'd be like, I want him on his list.
He knows so much. His fingers are in so many pies. He already knows that there's necromancers around. Like, he knows there's shit's going on. Like,
if I was Marcone...
I will agree.
That's the case that he could have, had some influence
knowing
there.
that Butters would pull Dresden in, and Marcone wouldn't have to ask Dresden for the favor. He'd be like, Butters will ask Dresden for the favor.
If he had any reason to know or care, he very, very well could have made that happen, right? But can you imagine how different this would have gone if fucking Brioche had got this one and taken this one?
Well, Brioche would be dead and Butters would have a very happy life without any wizards.
Harry would have no idea what's going on.
The skyline would look much different.
But
Changes? What changes? Harry would have died in an alleyway.
right? Exactly.
Ooh.
Oy vey.
But probably 3 days earlier, the first time someone came for the book.
I mean, he was holding his own up until. I mean, in all fairness, at the beginning of this chapter, when she's like drag him back into the alley and finish him off, part of that is because she's like, he is kind of hard to hold. He is stronger than I thought. I am having some trouble. Like, so he was putting up some of his own defenses there. Where
And as far as Harry's concerned, the Mafia angle only just got here. He didn't know about that up till literally like 10 hours ago. Something like that.
yeah. But yeah.
So, the good thing about Marcone is that he is incredibly loyal to his people because he wants loyalty from them, and the way that he has built his empire is that he takes care of his own.
Look after me, I will look after you, which was why Lawrence, dude, if you just come to me, I would have doubled their double-crossing offer to you.
So, all that to say is that it actually works out very well for Harry because here is a guy who is willing to do anything and everything to pay for the information and the revenge that he needs on behalf of one of his employees who is about to retire, damn it.
Despite Harry being kind of, yeah.
We've learned from TVs and movies that you are never supposed to retire. No one last mission. It's just not a good idea.
It's like accidents happen closest to home.
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Harry really doesn't want to believe him that he just wants to actually help. Well, because people are going to actually be fucked over if I don't help you, so...
Yeah, and he's like, no, you don't just... And yeah, I love how Marcone is just like, nah, you doing your thing is just going to be right. Because he's like, what do you want from it, right? Same as the fairies, like, you're never going to do anything without a bargain or a payment, you know? And he's like, no, I just genuinely want to help. And he's like,
Well, through the course of this conversation, Marcone gets this really good insult dig in at him, and it just stops you, and you're like, oh... Well, that's uncomfortable. Because Marcone is asking Harry to basically go to war for him, and I'll track down all my enemies and kill them. And Harry's like, whoa, I don't do that. What the fuck?
I don't do that. I don't work for you.
Yeah,
I'm
fuck
not
you.
gonna...
And then Marcone is like, okay, but you're gonna be involved on this side, right? And Harry's like, well, yeah, sure. And he's like, great. They'll die then. I'm pretty confident they'll fucking die then if you're involved.
Right. You don't need to work for me. I don't need to put you in action for... He's like...
This is just what happens when people get in your way.
Yeah, and Harry's like, oh, that's not...
Yeah.
Fuck, it kind of... Yeah. Like, he's got a couple good moments, right? Because he's like, he starts off with the whole, like, okay, how's your leg, right? And he's like, I'll live. He's like, do I look like a doctor? He's like, you look like a corpse. Is that a threat? Right? He's all like, no, I'm just concerned. And yeah, it goes on this whole spiel about nobody touches what's mine. Then exactly, yeah, he's like, I'm just gonna give you information. He's like, I don't know what you need to know, just ask me some questions and I'll answer anything I can, right? So he's totally upfront about, right, which is again why Harry is so partially suspicious about this. Like, it's just, right, who fucking I want to fucking... Okay, you know how you've got like those boxes of like keys at home or whatever you have? How come I have never found the key to like an ancient storage locker full of like old Nazi treasures? I want a couple of Monets and a Van Gogh.
I forgot about that moment, right? That's weirdly specific. Why Nazi? Maggie. Oh yeah, sorry.
Just the...
A direct quote from the book.
Yes.
Yeah, he's like... Yeah, he wants to know...
Goldfish brain strikes again.
Right? He's like, what's going on with this Tony guy? Like, what do you
Tanson's
know
so
about...
worried Mom's gonna get us canceled. And it's like, no, Butcher's gonna get us canceled, okay?
Butcher
fine.
is going to get us. I do not condone the Nazis. I never have. But apparently, yes.
Where's my Nazi treasure? Oh, Lord. Well.
Because, you know, I want the random key that opens because I've got all kinds of fucking keys lying around my house of all kinds of shapes and sizes.
For your birthday, I'm going to buy you a metal detector.
That actually would be kind of cool, not going to lie. So we find out that exactly Marcone is totally okay with his buddy retiring. And he's like, I got my thing. And all of a sudden, he comes to me asking for some advice because he's found a thing about a thing and needs to know how to deal with it. So Dresden's all like, ooh, wizard shit. Lo and behold, Gravane. I just love how Marcone can just actually confirm that. Yeah, we totally know who it is. No questions, no, you know.
But the deal went bad.
Fucked him up anyways. And Marcone is just not pleased.
At least Tony had the fortitude to disguise the location.
He did get that much. He did, yeah. So unfortunately, it didn't save him in that way, but he still got the last laugh on Gravane. Because, yeah, he's like, well, you killed me for nothing. You still can't have it. And then you get into the whole thing about, I'm not interested in helping you maintain your empire. And so, yeah, all of a sudden, Harry's got to do a little soul searching. I'm not a hitman. I don't work for you.
Again, I know I've been talking about Doctor Who a lot, but that's because I'm binging it a lot and it's on my mind a lot.
Great.
A lot of the classic Who, so far at least, is the Doctor being like, I don't fight, I don't hold weapons, I don't do this shit, blah, blah, blah. And the way that I'm binging is like, I do one classic Doctor and then one modern Doctor, one classic Doctor, one modern Doctor.
Episode by episode or like arc? Because the old ones were kind of
entirety Doctor.
Okay,
like I watched the entire first Doctor and then the entire 9th Doctor, then the entire second Doctor, and then the entire 10th Doctor, okay?
Okay, yeah.
So, I'm currently sitting between the 4th Doctor and the 12th Doctor, okay? But because of that,
I would not mind sitting there.
I got all of this like content all over my timelines now. I'm getting a lot of stuff from Peter Capaldi, who he's brand new to me. I've never seen any of his shows, but I'm watching clips anyways.
And of his other shows?
No, of Doctor Who.
You never saw it? Oh,
I never made it.
I did. That's where I did.
I stopped at Matt Smith.
Gotcha. I did make it a few Peter Capaldis, yeah.
All brand new to me. And there's this moment where Peter Capaldi is like, just look me up, bitch. Just look me up. You want to pick a war with me? Just look me up. And the guy's like, all right, fine. Everyone's in the fucking book. I'll look you up. And he's like, yeah, good. I want you to look me up. And he's like, okay, yeah, you're in the book. He's like, no. Look me up under casualties. And the computer goes, and it keeps going and going. And it's just silence. And all these people are just staring at him. He's like, and for me, watching all of Doctor Who thus far, with the Doctor currently being like, no, bitch, I don't go to war, I don't kill anyone, I don't do anything, blah, blah, blah. And then obviously having known the entire modern area that I know, and knowing that the whole war happens on the next Doctor and all this shit, I'm like, damn, bro. Their life's about to get really different. Like, yeah. And I think he says somewhere, like, the Doctor is, like, somewhere, I think, in his 600s or something like that, when Doctor Who starts.
Yeah, sounds about right.
I'm like, wow, bro, just 60 years.
I think there's a big jump with Matt Smith, though. Like, Matt Smith, like, has this really big giant, like...
He does.
And then Capaldi will...
I'm somewhat aware of that,
okay,
but...
It's going to happen multiple times.
Okay, because I am aware of some of that, but not all of it, but I'm thinking, like, well, only 60 years of being really active in your field, and you went crazy, dude.
I remember missing, because the only really big jump I remember, that was still Tennant, when he had, like, the one with the Master, where he did, like, his 900-year jump and then, like, reverted or something. Am I thinking of something
That is one of them, but I'm aware of the Matt Smith just kind of being, like, the whole war Doctor thing.
Maybe
I'm
missing
going to end
I
like a million
haven't.
civilizations. And
yeah, I gotta go back.
I don't know. I don't want spoilers, so never
I don't
mind.
want, yeah, no.
I'm not saying
I know,
anything
yeah. But point is...
I am up to date.
But anyways,
No.
yeah, you're right. So it was funny for a second when you first said, like, look up I thought you meant, like, him as a casualty, and I thought this was just going to be a thing of, like, how many times that, just because he's popped up all over history, right? We're like, we had this dude in 1939 that died, then we had this dude in 1999 that died. But, you're like, no, him causing the casualties, not him being the casualty.
This was another, yeah, like him being the cause of death.
Yes.
But this is another thing that's, like, crazy for me is the 4th Doctor right now is back on Gallifrey, and he's like, and everyone's being like, oh yeah, he's a 12th generation, he's gonna lose it soon. And all the time I was being like, yeah, you can only generate 12 times. And me, in real life, being like, I know we're at 15 right now. I didn't know that they could only go to 12.
Yeah.
I know Matt Smith was like, no problems, we're living our life. He never mentioned anything that this is the last time. So what happens after Matt Smith that I don't know about?
It's kind of funny, right? Because...
I know, I don't know. But it makes sense to me. Oh, that's how you managed to be a woman. That's how you managed to...
I was going to say, I was like, it's really funny because, yeah, when, like you say, when the original Doctor was just like, yeah, I want to go do something else. And they're like, shit, our show's going good. We don't want to end our show, but we need to recast this guy. And they came up with this brilliant idea of regeneration, right? So they're like, wow. And then it's like, so you gave yourself this perfect out to not have any, and then you still wrote yourself into a corner by being like, well, we'll never need more than 12, you know?
Well, yeah, back then they were on number 4. Like, 12 seems crazy.
You know, and whatever, exactly, right? Like,
This show isn't going to last 50 years, what?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, right? Like, disappear for a decade and come back yeah, exactly, right? That's what I love. I was like, oh, you guys almost had it, and you still managed to shoot yourself in the foot and be like, you know, we still got to figure out a way out of this. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's a very sort of that kind of moment, like when a good man goes to war, when you don't piss off the Doctor, don't. Yeah. And Harry's all like, I just defend. Well, what happened? when you defended all these people, Harry, and I suddenly realized I'd killed more of them than I...
I mean, that like way overused quote of, history is written by the victors, right? The Dresden Files, weirdly enough.
What's the scale? Like, there's chaotic good,
Neutral.
neutral and bad.
Neutral, lawful.
Where do we think that Harry lays on this chart?
Harry's the Mexican jumping bean, okay? So, depends on the book, depends on what situation.
You're supposed to choose that for your D&D characters. You're supposed to choose their alignment, one of those 9 boxes. And me and my friend regularly don't do that because we don't like
being boxed in.
It's too difficult to narrow down to those. We're always just like, whatever. It's probably between these 2 or 3, but who could say?
Well, and that's
You
just,
can say.
That's just, I mean, yeah, to a point, right? But you're right. I mean, again, some of that would be, I guess, how comfortable you are in your definitions of those terms to be like, no, I'm definitely right. But you're right.
Me in real life is already using those definitions so loosely. So.
Well, there's that. But, but exactly, right? It is like any given situation and stuff.
So all that to say that Marcone is like, we're going to do a bunch of... Marcone says he doesn't want to waste Harry's time, so just ask me the questions. And I'm like, whoa, no, bitch, you tell me what you know.
Right? I thought that was weird. Like, why is that a time saver?
That just, to me, it just seems like very much like the cops where they're interrogating. It's like, we're not going to tell you what we know. How about you just tell us what you just started at any point, okay? When you woke up, when you had... just pick up the story where you think is relevant and go from there, right? And Marcone's like, I'm not going to waste time with that. Just what do you want to know? Just tell me and I'll answer.
I absolutely 100% get both sides of it, because part of me is like, whoa, you want to help him, just, and at the same time I'm like, okay, no, I do get a certain amount. Like, if Harry's kind of got a beat on where he wants to go, right? Yeah, maybe he doesn't need this, right? So I'm like, I do kind of, because he's like, what do you know about the deal, right? And Marcone's like, okay, this is what I know about the deal, right?
This is probably, like, maybe it's like a way of Butcher controlling the flow of information, so it's not giving...
I think it's absolutely partially just, there's no need to...
just have
tell the whole
Marcone
story and waste so
on,
much
right,
time.
yeah.
There's no need for that. But at the same time, it's totally good for Marcone to not have to divulge things that Harry doesn't even know about.
I was going to say, it's great for the narrative, but again, it's kind of that plot device of like, yeah, we don't need to do all of this. But it also works, and like, again, if you're thinking that way...
We also get to watch Harry's gears turn.
Well, right, we get to find out where's Harry.
Marcone started with breakfast, and Harry's like, well, first things first, I had breakfast with a fallen angel. And it's like, well, we didn't even know about that. Like,
yeah.
And now we'll never know because you didn't start talking about your day, right?
Yeah, right, like...
It could have been relevant 3 books from now if we found out about it now, but because you're a dick and won't just tell Harry about your day.
But yeah, exactly. I'm like, I totally see it from both. Not that it was necessarily like, Butcher's just like, this is just the way I'm going to tell this portion, right? As opposed to Marcone specifically.
I just think he's so shady. He
but
specifically
does,
chose
right?
butter.
Like,
he's not going to answer Harry's stories. I give him so much credit because I think he deserves it. All this to say, we finally know what happened on Wacker.
Oh my God, are you a villain lover?
I am. Totally.
Yeah. Wacker.
We know why Wacker was a weird one, because Wacker didn't have quite the same vibe.
It
It had
name,
a
that's why.
different sort of necromantic magic and vibes and a different sort of thing in here. You didn't know what it meant. And now we know that last night somebody died on Wacker and
One
then
of
walked
Marcone's
away.
men was mortally wounded.
Mortally wounded. And then went and told Marcone about it.
Oh, you got a chance to talk to him before he died. I did. In point of fact, he didn't die.
He's still before his not died.
Wait, what? But you said, yes, I did.
Yes. Cook County thinks it's a medical miracle.
Right?
Crazy.
And again, right? He's like, how do you know there's like necromancy? She's like, Gard, okay? We already covered, right? She's got that, And he's like, how do you already know? And he's like, that's it.
The lady knows all.
Researched assistant.
Boom! And he's like, damn, right? And she's like, there's hot spots everywhere. And he's like, I knew that.
I already know that one.
But,
God.
yeah. But what you might not know is we also know that one. So he's like, and I love this. He's like, so yeah, it doesn't get a name or anything because conveniently enough, because of all the trauma of like dying and everything, but he doesn't remember what happened.
Yeah, I would be pretty traumatized.
Ambulance showed up to save me. I died on the paramedics. I don't know what happened after that. Well, fat lot of good you are to us.
That would drive you crazy. I was dead. I
But
was
don't,
dead.
like, we've all met.
Now, would you, or would you just have this near death?
We all know a friend of a friend of a friend who, like, was in a coma or they, like, died on the operating table and then they came back and then they're brought back and everyone's like, what did you see? And then they don't tell you, dick.
They're like, they start sweating.
What?
I was medically dead for 3 minutes. What'd you see? Oh, nothing. Ha. You liar. I know, you're lying. God made you make a deal.
I was going to
or
say,
the devil,
like,
or the afterlife.
You would not believe the fucking NDA I had to sign.
Exactly.
Like, I know. I always wanted to know too, and I couldn't figure out why nobody told me. Now I get it. Or yeah, exactly. They're all just playing the mystery card. They're like, nothing happened, but I don't want to be like it's nothing, so I'm just going to play it all mysterious like I know something you don't.
Yeah. But not for me. Vote for me, and when I die, I will come back and tell you what it was like.
Absolutely, positively, 100%.
They'll strike me down and kill me again, but you'll all finally know.
Right.
Or maybe that's the goal. Like, we'll just kill all of Earth. You'll all be dead then. You mustn't know.
That's what brings about the end of the world, is Jessica's like, I'm just going to WikiLeaks y'all here, okay? Like,
Man,
I will
people.
do it.
Shit, the news is out. Apocalypse, begin.
Yeah. So, Marcone thinks that Harry should go to the hospital, Cook County, get his leg checked.
Brings me back.
Talk to EMTs while he's there. Why not? They're the only witnesses to Wacker Street last night.
But this is, again, a couple of great, because he's like, why don't you just do it? He's like, try to remember I'm a criminal. People in uniforms don't want to die. Like, even the EMTs, right? He's like, yeah, I love, right? He's like, I have half the fucking police force in my pocket. People don't want to talk to me, you know?
Weirdly enough, Harry.
Valid. But again, he's like, so how's your leg? If you don't think it's bad enough, we can help. Like, he's like, if you don't think, not like, oh, well,
Guard can authenticate
we
it.
will make it worse. So he, okay, I'm going with it.
We'll make it so you don't lie. It's okay.
Yeah.
We know how you work with ethics.
I love just the casual and panache that, you know. He's like, if you don't think it's, not like if you don't think it's serious enough, we'll do. No, if you don't think it's serious enough, I'm sure Miss Gard can.
Thank you so much to our Patreon subscribers for your generous support. It's people like you who help us keep doing what we're doing. If you're not yet a Patreon subscriber, sign up today and get a fuck ton of bonus content, kick-ass merch, behind-the-scenes outtakes, and more. Sign up today at patreon.com/freeflowrambling.
Chapter 19. Harry makes it to the emergency room and gets his leg fixed up. While there, he is able to talk with the EMT Lamar and get the story of the necromancer resurrection on Wacker Street.
Now, I've never been to an American hospital, but in Canada, you can drive up to emergency, okay? What is Marcone doing? Just dropping them off like 100 meters away.
Video cameras.
Jessica,
And he's
why
a
can't
criminal.
you remember I'm a criminal? Yeah, he's not going to just drive up to the emergency and have everybody drop him off. Because
He's allowed to drive around in his limousine, okay? If he wasn't allowed to drive around the limousine, the cops would be pulling him over all the time.
And definitely for dramatic effect to make him really bleed out and hollow.
Yeah, make it way worse. You're just mean.
Yeah, I was going to say...
The mobster mean?
I was going to say, definitely not unique. Fine, he may be allowed to or whatever, but it's definitely more people are going to remember a limousine pulling up and dropping somebody of Harry's description bleeding all over out of it, as opposed to, right? So, and yeah, definitely part of it, I think, is just the, because I can't, you know, like, the excuse might not hold much water, but I'm still going to use it, yeah. Yeah, right? But he's like, yeah, he's just got to stay on the down. Like, I can't be seen talking to you. I can't, you know, have anybody know I'm connected to this in any way.
More to the point of last chapter, he says, I had to hobble in alone. It was hard and I was tired, but I've been hurt worse before. It wasn't like I wanted to do this every day or anything, but after a certain point of ridiculous discomfort, the pain all feels pretty much the same. That is not my experience. So
you have not experienced enough pain of that level.
Exactly my point about most of Harry's colleagues.
Right, yeah, they're all soft. Yeah, they're just a bunch of hermity old men sitting up in their musty towers with their books.
And wizards must have extra endorphins or something like...
I think that's just... Well, okay, maybe with that whole, perfect, maybe they get better adrenaline ruch and
their endocrine system is just really fucking good.
But again, I was going to say, just with all these other people, again, right, they're just all sitting around their books and they're... Why do you have to be out there in the world?
I do
Live my life in the open.
I do kind of like that the nurse calls him out on his dramatic flair. She's like, "Oh, come on."
This was way over. Okay, I'm kind of a wuss, okay? I'm like, okay, in some way, I get ER nurse, right. You probably have seen much more traumatic, but at the same time, I'm like, it's not like it ends up just being like a splint. Like, it's not even like a head wound that looks bad, but I'm like, he does still have like 4 inches of steel buried in his leg.
She's so mean about it though. I'm like, yeah, but it's hard.
All right. She's, the way we're carrying on.
Here's a Tylenol, you'll live.
Right.
I think I know nurses like that. I'm pretty sure I do.
Yeah. Yeah. We have, yes. Yes. Some of them were your fault, Jessica. After she was born, I was in the hospital for a bit, and one of the nurses was just awful. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have had to be there. Just saying.
Sorry for being born. Jeez.
Literally, this is what I'm saying. You shouldn't literally be sorry for being born.
Don't have unprotected sex. You don't have to deal with rude nurses. That's probably what the rude nurse was trying to get you to understand, and it didn't work because you had another kid a year later.
Maybe, but that one was more intentional. So, there wasn't not
Mackenzie was intentional. She was intentional. That's really embarrassing for you.
Mackenzie's lovely. See, this is just how much devil spawn she is. Already her little horns were poking through and causing problems in places they shouldn't have been, okay? Anyways, off topic, Jessica. So yeah, although he did get seen right away because of his dramatic entry.
It worked out well.
Dragging bloody footprints behind you. I'm like, yeah, okay, that would be kind of, and squishy, right? Like, if you're got that much right now, you just know his foot's doing, like, the wet carpet.
But, like, they
squish.
cut away his pants, and it's like, no. It's like his last pair of jeans.
Yeah.
Now he's going to be in purple sweatpants the rest of the book.
High waiters deal. He just makes them like long shorts.
You have...
Jerry, why are you in a janitor costume? Shut up. It was this or the flower delivery guy.
Poorly fitting. I was going to say, part of his getting more steady work and investing in things like slightly better tools of the trade or, proper groceries or whatever. I'm like, obviously he's now fitted this in as part of his justified expenses, because apparently Harry ended up in bad clothing enough the first 3 books that now he's like, okay, I'm buying some more fucking jeans, because he hasn't had to have any super embarrassing costume changes for a while. He's like, enough of this running around in sweatpants and cowboy boots and
that whole I don't make enough money to afford my style.
Yeah,
I was just I have one, I just can't wear it.
You can't really go to like secondhand because he's so tall.
It's gonna make it
would be
hard for a lot of
could, but
pants especially, right? T-shirts not so bad because your arms are supposed to stick all the way out of the sleeves. But yeah, any you see his button-up shirts or anything, and definitely his jeans.
I need a 40-inch inseam. Good fucking luck.
Yeah, a lot harder to just But yes, once again, his clothes pay the price for Harry shenanigans.
What's unsaid is that he actually just has this spell to repair them. He's like,
maybe that's what he finally did. He's like, wait,
repair us.
While I'm doing the duster, I'm gonna. And you know what? You almost again. Well, I guess it's harder.
We know that flaming poo doesn't affect it.
So real smooth. He's like, hey man, since I gotta wait for the doctor and stuff like that, I got a couple buddies. Could you see if
he's not that kind of magician?
Well, he could be if he tried.
He could be, but
can you please go see if Simmons or Lamar are around? And then he's like, if you see Simmons, tell him it's a school buddy. So the doctor comes and cuts the shuriken out of him, which has got to be the first time he's ever done that, I hope.
That doctor?
ER, we never knows.
Okay,
fair enough.
Right away again, okay, as we're going to get to for a minute when he has this conversation about how rough the neighborhood is that they do their route on or whatever, right? I'm like, this is Chicago. They probably cutting shurikens out of people all the time, and I watched ER, man.
I've been watching stories from the ER and TikTok, man. Whew, you should watch those.
I didn't watch stories from the ER. I just watched ER. Who was it? Was it us on this show talking about that? That is we watched ER and then you guys watched Grey's Anatomy or something like that. I was you can tell the era of there was Chicago Hope and then there was ER and then there's Grey's Anatomy. Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't seem overly whatever about it anyways.
Well, the doctor reads his file and is like, yeah, you pretty much know what to do based off of this. They'll dissolve. Have fun. Call us again.
I see we've seen you before several times.
Which kind are these? Do I have to come back? No. just no.
Live your life. According to this, you've never come back. So
yeah, we just, exactly, right? And he's like, you're just gonna,
Let me just punch your card, sir.
Right.
Frequent flyer, here we go.
My question, though, is the doctor asks him, do you want to keep the weapon?
Fuck yeah!
No, wait. You can't be asked that. I know people who asked to keep bones, and they were like, no. And they're like, you removed it from me. Give me my bone.
Maybe this is like an American Canada thing. Because first of all, I got a kick out of this.
I paid for that.
Yeah, right. First of all, he's like, sign me up for carpal tunnel surgery while you're at it, right? He's got to fill out all this paperwork for insurance and this and this. I'm like, thank God we don't have to. We have to put down like our name and our address and why we're there. Circle the parts that hurt, kind of a thing, right? And that's
who's your emergency contact? Go sit in that chair.
Exactly. But anyways, that's like their thing, right? They're like, I don't know, we don't care. You came in with this. You get, it's like a amendment thing or something, you had this piece of steel stuck in you. You're allowed to take this dangerous weapon away with you. Like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's kind of an uncommon weapon. It's not like...
It is, and who knows what the rule... Because it's the same thing. I remember one time, like...
Sorry, it took me a while to figure out what you were...
Sorry, yeah, just to circle back.
You went with the details, but didn't put your point.
Yes, so the point being is Jessica was like, why does he get to keep this thing?
Right, okay.
I mean, I don't know. I've been asked if I want to keep, like...
And that seems more like they would think of it as like more of a hobbyist sort of a thing, because really, who is checking around?
Well, I was going to say, it is definitely one of those things you have to kind of be skilled with it to use it as a weapon in its intended. I mean, yeah, you can just walk up to somebody and poke them with it for sure, but to actually like throw it and be effective, you would need some... Yeah, because I remember like years ago, we were at like a fancy event kind of a thing. And my sister-in-law saw these guys like hanging out in a car with like this like fucking machete or something like this. And she's like, this doesn't seem cool. Like, they're not for the setting. Like, they don't seem like they belong, right? So we ended up calling the cops to ask. And they basically were like, yeah, we can't do anything about it. It's not. And I forget exactly if it was like, because I know there's size and stuff like that. But something about like they're not doing, like if they're just sitting there and it's in the car. Yeah, if they're threatening somebody with it, if they're trying to conceal it, or you know what I mean? So I'm like, you never know sometimes, right? Like, you're not allowed to carry, like, your fucking teeny tiny, barely above a nail clipper, like, pocket knife into the courthouse with you. But you can fucking sit in a car outside, like, a fucking, like, wedding reception with a fucking, like, machete.
It was a different time, because now they confiscate nail clippers, like...
Well, yeah.
You people are getting too creative.
I think the thing that baffles me a little bit more is that the doctors suggested that you might be able to get fingerprints off of it. Like, it has been embedded in his body. How are fingerprints? Do they stay?
The part that's sticking out? Yeah, for sure. Because, I mean, the doctor's got to have gloves on to do this, right? He's not dealing with this. So, absolutely, the part that is still sticking out of his leg...
I assume when he fell on it, it, like, really got deep. So.
I think it'd be like the normal, like, just trying to give a victim some hope. You've got a fucking piece of steel sticking. Yeah, maybe the cops can find it. Maybe. I don't know. Give her a chance.
Flick the blood off.
Which is good. I've seen enough movies to know that steel is only crafted in one shop that only has 2 employees, too. So
there's that.
And only one of them has a throwing arm, so.
Right.
You should just try, dude. You should just try.
It's funny, though, too, because Harry's just like, I don't know what happened. It must have been like some kids messing around. And they're like, so really, it's like, it's not like Harry is going, you're like, you can get fingerprints. And Harry's like, I don't need to. It was just an accident. Oops.
Yeah. Oopsies. If you're going to hit someone's car by accident, his is the car to do it.
Right?
How could you tell?
Exactly.
Like, how could you tell? And he's like, I just don't have time for this.
He wouldn't care. He'd be like, well, just go.
He's like,
leave.
Seriously. Yeah. He's like, a plant monster's going to, like, just make that dent 3 times bigger in a couple days. You know what? Fuck it. Anyways,
so fast forward. So Lamar shows up, and Lamar is all, you don't look like you'd go to my school. Yeah, I said I was fucking Simmons' classmate, not yours.
So I was exactly.
Fuck, I hate this game of telephone.
So again, is this just like a random whatever? Is this just like the orderly fucked it up? Or is this just like the guy's like, well, if you, I don't know, maybe him and Simmons went to school together. Maybe that's what we don't know. And he's like, but yeah. Because I remember I was like, the first time I was like, whatever, I'm going through it today. I was like, wait a minute, wasn't it? Didn't he ask for Simmons?
I said I went to school with Simmons. My story still holds up, motherfucker.
Hello. Yeah. So I like that too, when he's talking to him and he's like, I touched his arm. He's like, I didn't grab him. You don't go around grabbing Marines or ex-Marines.
Well, really, you shouldn't be grabbing anybody. There's a whole thing
well,
about consent.
well, okay. But, yes, in a just a moment I need your attention on the arm kind of a thing, yeah.
Throws the star at him.
Yeah.
That got your attention?
Harry basically wants to know his story. What did you see? What do you want to tell me? And the guy is like, I don't want to go to a loony bin. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Immediately he's like, I'm gonna just close this curtain because we are in the emergency ward, which, as we know, yes, is just little curtain cubicles, basically. Yeah. So he's like, I don't even have a door to close. Okay, let me just shut the curtain and be like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? What? Why? What do you mean? Do you think you're gonna lose your job if you tell me? Fuck yeah.
Well, the one thing that I really do like, Harry gets from Lamar immediately is this follow-up from his work that he did. This validation that he did, in fact, do a good enough job with...
We have not heard about Cook County Hospital since
Agatha,
Brave Pair.
Yes,
Agatha Hagglethorne.
Yes, that SIDS has suddenly stopped.
People are noticing shit.
I know you had something to do with that, man.
Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy, right? Like I love how this goes. Right, Harry's like, "Go, just tell me." Like, I'm not gonna tell anything to anybody. And finally, right, you get the like, "You're this dude, aren't you? I saw you on Larry Fowler."
It's such a nice win for him.
Well, it is, especially because he gives up in the right. He's like, yes, it was me. Okay, fine, you can go away now. And he's like, no, wait, right again. He's like, oh, my infamy has, and then so he's like, well, he does try to play because he's like, well, no one would believe me, right? But yeah, exactly. Lamar's like, no, wait. He's like, you were the guy, and right,
actually, if anyone would, it would be you.
Yeah, and you just feel like he's like, you're the guy that was found, and he's like, oh fuck, this is so bad. This is not. Yes, I broke into the maternity ward, and I was in a wrecked nursery, and right, and you get that, like you say, that moment of like vindication, validation, where all of a sudden Lamar's like, did you know?
For all your hard work, it is paying off.
And you go.
Coming off this moment of Marcone that just kind of hit him when he was down, too.
That, too.
And even a few chapters before that, when we had the whole story about Rollins and Murphy's father, too. This whole, I know something's coming around. There are certain people in the world that are getting results and trying to help it, and I'm starting to believe that there is something. If you're on this fight...
Maybe you're not the bad guy, yeah. Maybe you're
like you said, it is. It's just so nice to see, vindication.
Yeah.
Reward.
He needs a pat on the back every now and then. Like,
well,
it's hard work he's been doing.
It is, right? And again, like, he talks about with Mike and whatever, this thankless job and blah, blah, blah. And there is, and you're right, Harry's like, I'm going to do it anyways, but... And like you say, especially coming off of Marcone's like that, where you're like, I'm just trying to, keep the really bad stuff out. And Marcone's like, yeah, and everybody who gets in your way dies. To all of a sudden to again being that like, well, yes.
Here's where they didn't die.
But sometimes, well, they did, or whatever. Like, fine, Agatha did. She got in your way. She died. Whatever you want it. But again, this is the flip side. Exactly. Like, not just what is the bad that happened. Here's the right. There are ongoing long-term results. So whoever else might have fucking died in that, Bianca and what, you know what I mean?
And I think it's fair for Harry to see, too, that, you get so caught up in the drama every single day, running and fighting for your life and basically living as a bad guy in a way where it's nonstop blood and violence. How is this any different from any of Marcone's regular employees anyways?
It's the Pretty Woman thing. The bad stuff's always easier to believe. And right, and even Harry is subject to that, right? It's hard, right? When people start doing that, it's all he can do to focus on. Why did she... What is... Yeah, sorry, not that part of the movie, but yes, that is, that I did mean the Pretty Woman from the movie, Julia Roberts, and she's talking to whatever, and he's like, well, what about this, and what about that, and, he's like, you're smart and funny and whatever, and she was like, yeah, she's like, but the bad stuff is always easier to believe. It's so much easier, right? We always focus on that. Everyone can tell you you're smart and you're funny and you're, right, but then anyone is like, you're a freak, and that's I think what you remember forever, right?
Harry spends so much time, in the underbelly, like, fighting for his life in the sewers, trying to make the rest of Chicago above a better place, that it doesn't emerge from the sewers all that often to see the better place that is coming from it. So it's a nice reminder to be like, no, Harry, you are fighting for a good reason. There are actual results happening. I know you just got banned from box-ordered books, but you saved that man's life, okay? Like,
right, yeah, and he did, acknowledge the degree, but exactly, right? Like, yeah, your life has moved on. You haven't had time to go back. But exactly,
You're leaving the world
to
a better
all
place
the
behind you.
right? To all the nurses that work there, to every mother that's now had a baby, right? Like,
This is not pure sacrifice on your part.
those are the unseen parts of it that, the ripples out in the world kind of a thing, right? And it was just such a sweet kind of, and this is again what I love, right? Like, whether he intended to come back to this moment or whether he just found this as an opportunity to, because like you say, right, he's like, oh, we don't need like 17 different people, we'll just bring in this character that we've had before, right? And right, so it's like, it's just that you happen to be, we're at Cook County again, hey, you know what, or whether, but regardless, I'm just like, oh,
It's very, very nice.
it's good.
And it gives Harry the opportunity, too, to be like, I can do it again if you tell me what you know.
This is what I'm trying to do.
What I'm
now.
here for.
So tell me your fairy tale, I will. And he's like,
I don't need
"Hey."
to tell anyone else because no one believes me anyways.
Right. What have you got to lose, right? As you say, everybody thinks I'm just a fucking crackpot, right? So, Lamar's like, all right.
So we find out Lamar shows up to see a man who has been shot twice in the chest, twice in the abdomen, and was bleeding badly, and he already knew that this wasn't good at all.
So, right there, those are some pretty, like, 2 in the chest. I mean, I don't know. Again,
People
going
don't live with one, like
Mo-
2.
right, again,
And then abdomen
every
stuff, like that's really bad.
every movie I've ever watched, you bleed out fast from a big old chest wound, right? So again, those, and then exactly, right, the gut wounds, right? Those are the other awful ones because that's where you start getting sepsis because it ruptures your stomach, and then you got like stomach acid flowing into all parts of your bodies where it's not supposed to be. And
Well, you've got
right?
this scene of the EMTs knowing they can't save him, but pretending to for his sake and being like, yeah, man, we're going to do our best. Yeah, sure. Like,
And I mean, it's what they do anyways, right? Like you say, they're all like, you always try, you never give up until you give up kind of a thing, right? But I'm just, even the fact that he was still alive when the EMTs got there is kind of like that. I'm like 4 shots in those places. I was like, dude, that was some really lucky / really unlucky shot. Fuck, yeah.
So eventually he describes that a woman came out of the shower.
Wrong book.
Eventually he describes...
Jessica, Harry's not telling the story, okay?
That was the boat.
Eventually he describes that a woman came out of the shadows, and we can obviously infer from there that Kumori showed up. And Kumori decided to save this man's life for who knows what reason, seemingly of just this, I've got the
'Cause she
power to
could,
bring him back to life, and I want to do it, which is against what we've seen so far of the necromancers, because so far what we've seen, they've been using them as, like, slaves and
weapons.
armies and
Bad
weapons.
magic for bad things.
Not legitimate resurrection because I have this power, go and live your life now. And it reminds me of, the Johannes Cabal sort of thing, when he just wanted to defeat death. He's like, I'm not here to raise an army of skeletons.
I don't
I'm
want
here to stop
zombies."
people from dying. Like,
Yeah.
and that is the different twist on it's much more on the D&D sort of cleric side rather than necromancy side.
Then the horrible abomination of...
It's funny because ESO has necromancers, and I wanted to make a character build that was a necromancer healer. And that's,
See?
right?
Best of both worlds.
So, before we go on further with that, I have a couple of issues with this. So again, I feel like it's really weird that they just let her walk. So I get that, okay, she kind of appeared out of nowhere. So with the EMTs, the EMTs are working on dead gangster guy. And Kimura, right, he said she just kind of appears out. So I get, fine, there's no, like, police barrier. You don't have, like, whatever, where you're like, hey, stay back, folks, They just suddenly, she's there. So I get that they may be, like, suddenly taken by surprise and whatever. But then they let her approach the bot, right? Like, this guy's just died. And she's like, I'm just gonna, like, straddle this dude and stick my face, like, I'm gonna go nose to nose so that my hood falls over his face. I'd be like, you know what I mean? I'm like, even the fact that, fine, she got past there's no barrier, right? But, that we're just like, excuse me, ma'am, like, you can't, like, I get their surprise. But again, it's just, the weird part hasn't happened yet, right? They showed up to a bad scene and the dude died. He's like, I've seen death. Lamar has seen it on the job and Lamar has seen it in war kind of a thing, right? So whatever Simmons' story is, Lamar should not be that like, oh my God, I'm wow, stuff is happening and I'm in shock. And, so I just find that really, really weird that she can approach them and then just like gets her hands like all over this guy and they're just like, okay.
I mean, we don't know what the speed of this whole transaction is. I mean, we do look at it in terms slower because we're reading it.
Yeah, the retelling.
It might be happening a bit faster. He's still assessing, like, oh, there's some crazy woman, and then all of a sudden there's ice everywhere. Like, that would be enough to make me go kind of pause, like, ooh. And if he thinks he's crazy, he might be still assessing the situation because he could be in danger himself if somebody's crazy. Yeah, I mean, the guy's dead, so it's not like...
Well, yeah, and I get that, but like, I mean, again, it's obviously not like we don't know what, like, the guy's got 4 bullet wounds in him. Obviously, something went down. This is a police issue, right? This isn't just like a mysterious, did he slip on the sidewalk and break his neck and nobody's at fault per se, right? You know this is going to be, right, you got to report all gunshot wounds and everything like that. So right there, you know this is going to be a police issue. And like I say, dead or not, I guess there's, she's not going to do any harm to the body. She's not going to stop them from saving him because he has died. But I still feel like, because again, the weird part hasn't happened, right? At this point with her just getting in that clothes, I don't feel like they'd be like crazy person, you know what I mean? Right now, they're just like some chick showed up in a weird out, because he's like, I don't know, maybe she's going to a party or something. Like, yeah, she was dressed a little weird, but that's just, to me, almost like, that's what I find a little bit hard. I'm like, how did she get in there?
We don't know if she's exerting influence on him in some way that he doesn't recognize.
Yeah, I don't know, but she's like, she looks at me and tells me to back up and let her help him. And I'm like, again, I guess if, somebody's offering help, but at the same time, right, I'm like, you're the EMT, you're the one that shows up to do it, other than like a legit,
I remember in CPR training, they tell you, like, whoever takes charge is in charge, okay?
Yeah.
And someone has to do that. If no one's willing to do that, you have to be the one to do it. You have to point to people and be like, you're calling 911, you're compressing the wound,
Yes.
I'm doing CPR, and you're not supposed to let somebody take charge from you unless
they're more qualified,
right?
whatever, right?
You're not
yeah.
like basically the whole point is that we were children, we were like 14 getting taught this, and they're like, you know how to do CPR, don't let an adult shove you out of the way. If you know how to do it, do it.
You do it, yeah.
And you do it until there is an EMT or a doctor there, right?
Yeah.
But it could be, the same kind of thing. This woman seemed to be more in charge for whatever mystical, magical reason on the present. She had the authority, and it's just like, okay.
And in his mind, the guy's already dead. It's not like she can do worse, I suppose. Like,
well,
and if she starts doing worse, then
there's a certain protocol there where you don't just let anyone walk up to a dead body. But again,
Yeah,
I
that's
imagine in this
kinda-
strange situation, if the highest authority gets control of the situation,
And maybe,
she came in with the highest authority.
Maybe she's some freaking like neurosurgeon on her way to a costume party, and you know what I mean. That okay, but yeah, it was just like you say. There obviously was something that allowed, but it was just one of those
and we've
things
already
where I'm
seen
like,
that some of the necromancers aren't above using mental manipulation. So
That's what I mean, though, is that for whatever reason, even just if it was just the aura, the vibes of this mystical, magical person that just makes the suggestion, or you feel creepy and you're just like, it's not a fight I want to pick. You want 5 seconds?
I mean, there are those things sometimes where, you're like, what? So, somebody just does something and you're standing there going, why am I letting you, what this, and I do get it. It was just kind of a little bit like, again, giving that he's like, we have to wear bulletproof, you know what I mean? It's like, you guys are already like sort of in the worst of the worst, right? So it seems like all of these things that would surprise, shock, put us off step for the, you know what I mean? I was like, I know you guys are specifically trained not to have that shit happen because you're the ones dealing with it, right? But regardless.
But he is also worried that he doesn't want to tell anybody because it is such like, and that may
after
to
the
him,
fact,
he may also already consider that part of the weird is that he let her and he doesn't know why. Because it gets protocol. He doesn't want to tell anybody because because of protocol.
That's true too. Yeah, I don't know if you get my ass kicked because I tell some rando do my. But yeah, again, just one of those little like I was like.
So it's partially confusing because why'd you go out of your way to do that, Kumori? But on the other hand, it helps fit in line with the fact that even though we consider Cowell and Kumori to be the enemy because they are a part of this whole necromancy thing, so far all their actions have been kind of anti that. They're trying to, we just want to destroy the book.
Preventative, not active.
Which, it puts them in a weird third category where whose team are you really on? And Kumari is, aiding to this story of just whose side are you on and what are your goals here? What is your intent? Because you're clearly not against using necromancy because you just did it.
Right.
But you're trying to stop the other ones from doing it.
It does lend a really interesting, because as he says too, he figures this is like 45 minutes to an hour before, so he's like, I just thought maybe she was just kind of there, but he's like, it explains why she didn't do more when I threw down with a cowl, right? Like, because again, he would have been in a lot of trouble. He was just barely holding it together. If Kumori had been able to back up Cowell, then
he would have been hooped.
He would have been out. Yeah, he would have not been able to, right? So it was kind of good for him that way. So it wasn't just that, because, he's like, it's just when she tried to take it, it seemed no more than just trying to take, like his physical muscles or whatever, right? Yep. It's like she wasn't so conveniently enough there that we find out why, right? But
I kind of wonder, because like when Harry goes to get a cab to get his car, he sort of reflects on Kumori's actions.
Yeah.
And Harry's confused why she would help a stranger, wonders why, like how, if it would help the plan, and then he sort of figures that it's this need to sort of to do the right thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I had to consider the possibility she'd been trying to do the right thing, using her power to help somebody in dire need. At what point ever would anyone from at least the council consider using necromancy to be the right thing? Like, isn't necromancy is just like a big fucking...
Well, and this is the whole thing, right? Because
this is why we've got this third category. Because, Harry's whole position is like, I want to help the regular Joe Schmo that can't help himself in the face of supernatural things that keep fucking up.
Because that's what I was going to say. Like, that's part of what he thinks is weird. He's like, why would she risk deplete? If they knew they were coming after this, like, I don't know, if he knew for sure they were going to be encountering him within the hour, about right. But he's like,
but
why
that there's Gravane and all these other necromancers running around.
Why would she have risk giving away anything and not, being ready to defend herself at all costs for this, right? And again, that he says the same thing with his, right? Because he's like, the same way that you can use my power to do bad things, right? Again, he's like, now this is where you start crossing those neutral good, neutral chaos, chaotic, right?
And it's just the way that he sort of puts things, and he does this... I think it's a very dangerous gray area for how Harry is reflecting upon it. Like, it's just like...
this is Harry's problem with the council.
Very slippery slope for him, particularly because he has so many ties into...
Yeah.
That's the problem, though. The council specifically says, here's the 7 laws, don't fucking break them. And Harry's like, if I can do magic, I'm going to do magic. And they're like, no, just because you can do it doesn't mean you can do it. We're saying don't fucking do it. We know, technically speaking, magic is capable of doing this. We're saying don't do it. And Harry's like, okay, but like, I can smudge the rules a little bit if it's worth it, right? And they're like, no, fucking stop smudging the rules. And he's like, okay, but like, just a little bit, right? And here's people that are fully like, whatever, I know how to do necromancy. I'm going to do necromancy. Like, who the fuck cares about the council's rules? And Harry's like,
but look, I do it for good. Like,
this is the problem.
Yeah,
though,
and justify the means, right? Exactly. Like, that's the thing. He's like,
this is why Harry doesn't know whose side they're on, though, because he's like, well, okay, don't do good things with the bad magic. What the hell, man? And why we've had this issue this whole book, too, of him keep encountering magic and being like, well, I didn't even know magic could do this because it goes against everything that I know the magic is created by.
Well, again, very much like the point against Corpse Taker, right? He's like, okay, I'm going to whip out my council training. And they're like, yeah, we all suck. The top council training is like kindergarten shit because nobody's allowed to research it to know how to do, because it's just that bad, right? So how do you defend against something you're not allowed to know about? Exactly. Like,
this is one point for the Harry Potter universe where they were just actively torturing the students so that they could train
right.
them.
No, this is what it is, you little fucking
Cruciatus curse in the back closet. 20 minutes. Let's go.
Yeah, right. So this is exactly his point, right? Like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, this is bad. We don't do it. But how do you, if somebody else is going to do it, we need to know how to, and this is again, like fucking the whole, how do you justify the what is the, it's not good for you to do it, but if you don't do it and somebody else does it, and yeah, so this I think is his whole thing, that they seem strong enough and what their magic is, how they use it. A lot of that to him says council one way or the other, that they know about it or they're on the council or they're right. But again, obviously they're looking at some of these, right? Same thing. They're like, well, we can't just go and do this research because they'll lop our heads off in a heartbeat. So we are going to find out about this stuff, but maybe not just to be crazy, evil, world-destroying monsters, maybe, like you say, oh, look, this guy gets to go home to his little girl now, see? It's not so bad. You just got to find the right way to use it. Harness the power for...
And I think that's thematically in the series has really started to sort of push, like Butcher has been really pushing that gray area, like even with like Koi. Because he thinks McCoy is totally on the good side.
One of those, you're not
supposed to...
is
like he's allowed to use whatever magic
McCoy was his white knight. McCoy was the standard by which he set everything.
So now we continue to see this theme.
The whole you're not supposed to meet your heroes, right?
Yeah. And this is exactly Harry's...
Butcher has had some very beautiful descriptions in the past. He's had some good metaphors and whatnot. But the way he ends this one is very just like...
I made that note here too.
Oh.
Like, when I opened my eyes, thick clouds had covered the sun and painted the whole world in shades of gray.
Bing, bing. Life imitating.
Oh, weird. Yes.
Right.
Pathetic fallacy, if there ever was.
Fucking stop making me think about this shit.
This concludes our episode 13.15 Avaunt. Thank you for listening. You can find us online at freeflowrambling.com and McAnallys.ca. There we have links to our other podcasts, social media, and other fun tidbits. Please subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and please consider supporting us through Patreon to keep the magic alive and see more content. We are Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.